So the Battlefield 6 Season 4 gameplay trailer just dropped, and honestly I think my jaw dropped with it. Simply put, it looks incredible. Full-on naval combat with the updated patrol boats featuring an insane looking dual mortar gun. There's a freaking folding wing dual seat F-14 Tomcat in the game, which is just so cool. Absolutely unnecessary in this modern military game in which it would be highly obsolete, but man do I appreciate seeing it. Of course, we've got the F-18s in the game, we've got rib boats, sea mines, 2 maps. The VSS is coming back. It looks like DICE are delivering a real naval combat experience and a lot of feels along the way. Both teams even get aircraft carriers to launch their vehicles from, so maybe we'll even see the return of carrier assault? Who knows? Now, as someone who is a huge fan of both Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, naval combat or maps where you're sieging beaches and launching from aircraft carriers was a big part of the base games. They really set the tone for a lot of the feels, and not having that so far in Battlefield 6 has set a different tone for the game, generally speaking. But getting that back in this update means a lot. Battlefield 4's Paracel Storm was one of my favorite maps. It was one of the coolest maps in my opinion, and the mixture of naval and tank and aerial combat all in one map and having it play out really well was just so dang cool. And at least when it comes to the trailer side of things, it feels like DICE is very much in line with what the community wants, at least with what I want. I mean, I was vibing from start to finish. Every single thing I saw looked awesome. Now, what are we actually getting in Season 4? Of course, there's the 2 new maps, which I think are some of the more exciting aspects of any season. We have a brand new creation called Tsuru Reef, which has some familiar looking landmarks, but otherwise I believe the map is a completely original concept. Plus, we have a remake of basically the most iconic map in Battlefield history, Wake Island. And it looks like it's based a bit more on Battlefield 5's version with the exploding bunkers, plus a ton of additions. Now, Tsuru Reef looks massive with 9 capture points in Conquest spread across 4 main islands and several smaller islands. And when I say massive, I mean freaking massive. The island that the E flag is set on is basically the entire Hainan Resort from Battlefield 4. And I know that because, well, Hainan Resort is basically on the island, recreated in all of its Levolution glory. The rest of the map looks pretty original, and there's also a ton of bridges connecting the islands. So I think we're going to see a very healthy mix of land and sea vehicles fighting for control of these flags. Most of the capture points appear to be near the coastline, so players driving the boats around will have something to do, and potentially a lot of land versus naval combat. And even the inland points won't be safe, since these boats have what looks like a dual mortar gun system that can be angled up to lob explosives over the terrain. Now, throughout the trailer, we also see hints of Battlefield 4's legendary server-synced water physics. Leaks from Battlefield Labs even shows that the waves can flip boats over, which sounds like a pretty awesome evolution to the wave physics. The waves in Battlefield 4 could help block projectiles and even provide some stealth for players to sneak around behind them, but a big wave would just kind of wash over the boat without really affecting you in any other way. If boats can actually get flipped over by the waves now, that's going to add a huge amount of skill and strategy to actually how you move around the map. As for Wake Island, like I said at the start, it looks like it's based on the Battlefield 5 remake of the classic map, and that version featured a much more fleshed out coastal military installation spread across the entire map. One area featured several concrete bunkers that could be blown up by players, and even a fuel facility that could also be blown up. The trailer for Season 4 shows the bunkers returning, with a player using C4 to set them off. But there's also new additions we haven't seen in any prior version of the map. There's a cargo ship beached along the coastline of the map's interior, with players fighting all over it, so that'll likely be one of the map's capture spots. There's also what looks like at least one new bridge connecting 2 areas of the island. And there's also what looks to be several radar domes spread across the map. In real life, these domes house radar systems to protect them from the weather. And the outside is typically made of fabric that's transparent to radar, so it might be cool if, say, gunfire could actually shred through the domes instead of them just being static. Who knows, maybe snipers can camp inside the domes and use them as a concealed sniper location. Now, we also get to see a ton of shots of rib boats driving around carrying players, and at one point we even see a torpedo tracking one down, which is pretty cool. We haven't seen a tracking torpedo in a Battlefield game since, I don't know, potentially ever. I can't remember if the ones in 1942 tracked ships or not. Now, without question, and DICE was not modest about this, one of the highlights of Season 4 is the fact that we're getting what appears to be two new two-seater jets, the F-14 and the F-18. And since the launch of Battlefield 6, jets have more or less felt a bit like an afterthought. The ones we have now are single-seater, and they don't offer a lot of customization like the other vehicles do. In fact, they haven't really gotten any new gadgets or customization options since the game launched. But this trailer makes a big deal of showing them off, with the point that they even reference Top Gun at the end of the trailer with a shot of the F-14. If this means that DICE is finally showing jets some love and making them a more well-rounded vehicle, it could absolutely mix up the vehicle balance, hopefully in a good way. Right now, I think anti-air players primarily target helicopters since they pose the most risk, but a dual-seater jet capable of, say, engaging air targets and dropping bombs effectively on the ground could spice things up in a fun sort of way. I think Battlefield 1 had the best co-op aerial combat out of any of the Battlefield games, but it would be interesting to see them take a new approach with twin-seat jets. The trailer also highlighted some new weapons coming with the update: the EF-88 assault rifle, the VSSM DMR, the Bren 3 carbine, and the HTI sniper rifle. These guns have been spotted in labs playtest leaks, and it's likely that their names may be different in the release build of the game. But it seems like a pretty healthy mix of guns overall. The VSSM in particular is always an interesting addition to Battlefield games since it has that cool integrated suppressor, which gives you a bit more flexibility in how you customize the rest of the gun. Of course, new content isn't all players are getting with Season 4. DICE are also implementing at least one new quality of life feature as well. Season 4 is expected to deliver proximity chat. DICE haven't released patch notes yet for the season, but their roadmap says that proximity chat is planned for Season 4. This is one of those features that Battlefield players have been requesting for years, so it'll be really fun to see what it's like once it's finally implemented. Though I do hope they include a way of very quickly muting players, because 64 players all spamming voice chat with music and memes could get annoying quite quickly. We're also supposed to be getting spectator mode with the season, but that might be subject to change since it was only announced with the roadmap and DICE haven't said anything since. Season 4 goes live on July 21st, and it's likely that a lot of this content will be split up into multiple phases. So expect Tsuru Reef Day 1, followed by Wake Island at least several weeks later. Now, Battlefield 6 launched in a solid state. It really did deliver in many areas, but it was lacking in certain Battlefield-y vibes and certain gameplay mechanics that I think players were missing from old school games. They've been remedying this situation since launch with each subsequent season, and I gotta say Season 4 has got me the most hyped so far. This looks like all the classic great Battlefield things that I've loved about the franchise, and then even more on top of that. It looks fantastic. I can't wait to play it. Stay tuned to the channel for more Battlefield coverage when this launches. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.